Today's show, LeBron James sidelined for almost a month. Does that mean the Lakers are no longer title contenders? Is Luka no longer going to be the MVP? We'll talk about all that and more. Locked On NBA Daily starts now.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of Locked On Mavericks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the number one sports podcast network out there. I'll be your shot clock Sherpa today, filling in for Wes Goldberg. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On NBA your first listen. I'm joined today by Haize from Locked On Bulls. Haize, how is LeBron's injury going to affect Hennessy sales? And I ask you this because I just went to you first, not for any other specific reason at all.
It won't affect it at all. If anything, it may go up because LeBron may do a little extra drinking. Now he's going to be on the sideline for a while.
And I'm joined by Matt Moore from Locked On Nuggets. Matt Moore, do you care about the Hennessy sales now that LeBron James is injured?
I'm just offended because I happen to love Hennessy. I drank it a lot back in the day.
I was just going to Haize first. There's literally no other reason. Today's episode, we're going to get into LeBron's injury. We'll talk about that here from Locked On Lakers. We'll also preview the Clippers. Are they too old to compete for a championship? For the Raptors, what are they? What are the Raptors? We're going to talk about that. We'll get into all that. Let's start here with the LA Lakers. And LeBron James has not competed in training camp. He has participated in streams and all kinds of weird things and a second decision and all kinds of things have happened to LeBron James, but he has not been to training camp, and he's going to be out an additional 3 to 4 weeks because of sciatica on his right side. The team announced Thursday. Let's hear from Locked On Lakers about their take on what's going on right here, how long he's going to be out.
Look, that kind of the Lakers fans hear nerve issue and, and they remember Steve Nash and how his career was derailed. We are not going there yet in terms of what is happening with LeBron. But I think, first things first, he is going to miss not just the opener, but very likely, at least the first, 8 or 9 games of the season.
It's 9 games. If you're going, let's say 4 weeks, if you just wanted to make that the point of delineation to begin, 4 weeks is the first 9 games of the season, concluding with the game against San Antonio on November 5th. The next game after that is the 8th of November against the Hawks. So I guess in theory, LeBron could go 4 weeks, get evaluated, have a couple days in between that evaluation and days off to maybe practice or just work this up, see how the body reacts. Mm-hmm. Maybe plays that game on the 8th against the Hawks, but you start stretching pretty believably into 12, maybe 15 games just between LeBron's age, the caution that's going to be there, the lack of practice time that you'd want LeBron to get to see how these things react before putting him out.
Right, because you don't want you got to see you practice and then.
Matt Moore, how big of a deal is this injury? Thinking about all those things that the Locked On Lakers just said about it's going to take longer than this 4 weeks. He's going to miss maybe about 12 games, which is like a decent chunk of the season at this point.
I don't actually think it's the worst thing imaginable. For starters, if he's out, you're going to move probably Jared Vanderbilt into that starting lineup. You're going to have like a bigger, more versatile kind of lineup, more centric on defense. And it's like, well, hey, but LeBron's a great defender. Nah. LeBron's a great on ball defender, but that man cannot be bothered with off ball defense at age 41. Like, he has not a thing that he wants to mess with. They can actually, I think, build a more Luka centric team with LeBron out and adding more defenders that are not senior citizen age. And I say that as a senior citizen, allows them to be able to maybe focus on that side of the ball and just build like hey, we're going to cover for Reeves and Luka. I don't think this is the worst thing in the world imaginable. Like, yes, LeBron is still LeBron a lot of nights, but he's also, if you look back, it's like he's either, oh man, LeBron still got it, or you're like, man, LeBron looked human. And that, I don't think this is the worst thing in the world, Haize.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. We talked about Jared Vanderbilt, the other day? Was that yesterday? Like, in him having an opportunity, especially to be a defender, like, it's not the worst thing. You still got Austin Reeves. You still got Luka. Of course, you're still trying to incorporate DeAndre Ayton. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm also somebody who didn't have them as championship contenders anyway. So I think they're going to win a lot of regular season games. I think they're going to have some difficulty getting over the hump in the playoffs. As long as LeBron's healthy at the end of the season, and when you do go in, try to go in that playoff run, that's the most important thing. He was probably going to miss about that amount of games anyway. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's not something that's drastically changing my view on the Lakers season.
Does it change your view on LeBron going forward? Do you look at LeBron differently now that he's going to be out with his injury? We keep seeing these like reoccurring injuries. This is an injury that could like linger and can come back. Like Steve Nash, they talked about, dealt with this, right? Like this is something to me that I look at, man, like I'm starting to really realize LeBron is 41, like he's 40, gonna be 41. You know what I mean? Like this is just start like break down the Superman. Like,
so two things on this. One, I think it's funny because when Nash had this, I was a young man. And so I was like, yeah, he's got some sort of back problem and didn't really know what it was. And now at age 43, I'm like, man, I got a sciatica. I understand how you feel. I know what this is like.
Well, what's it like? How bad is it?
It sucks. I will, however, put this out there. This is the first season opener that he's going to miss. And I get it. It is a painful deal and it's a problem. Haize, I can't help but look at what happened this summer with him not being necessarily thrilled with how the Lakers have conveyed their feelings about him and him opting into that deal and the weird statement that Clutch put out after they made that decision and all of the noise about it. And I can't help but feel a little bit of this is like, it's maybe not pettiness, but it's petty adjacent of being like, well, hey, you clearly don't want me around anyway, so it doesn't matter if I'm around. We'll see how you do without me for a little while. Like, to me, this feels very like, yeah, I have a sciatica. Could probably play through it, but not for you.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I mean, I think also we got to keep in mind that he is getting older. Hell, out of his 7 seasons in LA, 4 of those seasons he didn't play at least 60 games. So it's like LeBron is getting old, and you know, the slowing down on defense, like you said, you know, those type of things. His own ball defense, he's still really good, but that's even taking a step back. Like LeBron, he's about to be 41 years old. Like, so yeah, it should be a concern. Like, he's gonna have times like this. This is one of his first old man injuries. It's gonna happen. Like, he's gonna miss some time. It just is what it is. When you have a 40-year-old on your team, expect him to miss some time with stuff like this.
If he misses 20, 30 games this season, where do you have Luka, Reeves, and friends basically hanging out? Like, DeAndre Ayton also hasn't even played with Luka or LeBron at this point. Like, this team is getting cobbled together right before the season starts. How are we feeling about that team now if LeBron's going to miss that much time? And we probably expect him to miss more games later in the season for various reasons, whether they be injury or injury, like Matt Moore is ascertaining.
I think I think this might help Luka Doncic's MVP campaign if they get off to a hot start, right? I think this also sets the tone of if they get off to a good start, which, by the way, like, the preseason is deeply concerning. Like, it is deeply concerning when you watch this team and you actually like look at some of the underlying figures.
Are we back to taking preseason seriously?
No, it's just like, hey, like, maybe DeAndre Ayton should not look dead. Like, that's a thing that probably should look a little bit better.
Not even
but if it's just like, look, I just continue to believe that you can rattle off 50 plus wins with Luka Doncic with shooters and a pick and roll big man, and they've got that. And so if they settle into a real Luka isocentric Harden style offense, which is what that man desperately wants, that's the only type of basketball he wants to play. Like, I think this could set him up, get him a head start on the MVP conversation, Haize.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I'm concerned about in this is that Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves on the court together still finish with a net negative rating. And even Luka and Austin Reeves on the court together in their time together, they still finish with, I think, a negative net rating too, or right at even is where they finish. So there's still some concern that they're still trying to get over the hump and figure out their balance together. So that's the question that you have to ask. I just looked it up too. So in their 3,946 minutes on the court together with Austin Reeves and Luka with LeBron off the court, they had a net rating of positive 1.5. So they still got some things they need to figure out there.
some things to figure out. You can go figure those things out listening to Locked On Lakers, so go check out that show all the time. Coming up, the Clippers are old. Are they too old to compete for a championship? I think they are. I'm curious what everybody else thinks. We'll talk about that and more. Locked On NBA Daily continues coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks daily fantasy made easy. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid and not just like continue on with your day. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is fun. It's a simple way to add a little bit more excitement. You got fantasy maybe already, or maybe you're like, I'm done with fantasy. I can't do the all year thing. Like that's me. I can check in a couple weeks, but then once NBA starts, I'm like, all right, I'm focused on that. But you can just jump in to 1 week and decide like Josh Allen's passing yards more or less on whatever the projection is for him. Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown more or less on that, and you're in the game. So go check it out. It's easy. It's fun. Prize Picks just added stacks. So if you want to ride with a player, you can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. That's kind of interesting. You can do some fun things with that. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Daily, being part of the show, listening every day. We have a link in the description that covers each show. There's so many different shows all across the network. We got Fantasy, if you want to go listen to Locked On Fantasy with Josh Lloyd. We got Locked On Nuggets, Matt Moore. Locked On Bulls, Haize. I host Locked On Mavs. Wes hosts Locked On Heat, which I guess is what he's doing right now. Go check out all those great shows. And we also have Locked On Clippers, my guy Darian Vaziri. And he's got a big question about this Clippers team going into the season, which I think is pretty much all of our questions about the Clippers this year.
The biggest question for the LA Clippers this season is whether or not they are too old to actually compete for a championship. With the highest average age in the history of the NBA, surpassing the 2000-2001 Jazz, the Clippers are going to have to see if, even though they've improved by getting players like Brook Lopez, getting players like Bradley Beal, getting players like Chris Paul, are all those old geezers, quote unquote, going to help the Clippers get to the promised land? They lost in the first round of the Denver Nuggets last year, but they went out and got John Collins, who actually adds a player under the age of 30 to the mix. So it's not all older players. But ultimately, did the Clippers get better? Even though they got old.
Did the Clippers get better, Haize?
Yes, I think that they got better. I do think the Clippers are a better basketball team than what they were last year. Can they be a championship team? I have my questions about that. If you could guarantee me that Kawhi Leonard was going to be healthy for the majority of the season and in the playoffs specifically, I'd probably say yes, because a healthy Kawhi Leonard is a difference maker. But I still have my questions going on in the team in the playoffs. But better in the regular season, they're going to still be a very solid regular season team.
I'm really focused on this idea of redundancy right now, and that's usually a bad word, right? Like, oh, you're redundant, but you need redundancy in the NBA because there's an implicit element that guys are going to miss time. And what's interesting about the Clippers is they have some great redundancy and some variation instead, where, okay, if Bradley Beal, Chris Paul are out because they're old, you've got Chris Dunn, you've got Derrick Jones Jr., you've got wings that can step in and play with a different, more defensive mindset. Like, that's maybe the biggest concern to me is if we're trying to look at how good they were last year, and then we add these new guys, because that's what we do in sports is we're like, well, look how good they were last year. And then they added, but it's like, yeah, but they added guys that take away from who they were last year. You move away from Ivica Zubac, Chris Dunn, Nick Batum as that combo. Now you're not talking about as much of a defensive squad. Like, you're just not going to be as good defensively. And they do have different ways of being able to play, though, which I think is good, because if you get in a situation where you're like, man, we can't get stops. Like, we're a good defensive team, but we can't get stops tonight. Okay, well, you got more offensively centric players, because Harden, Beal, despite everything that happened in Phoenix last year, and Chris Paul as like a floor manager, like Chris Paul with Brook Lopez is they're gonna wreck. They're gonna wreck. I just think that they're gonna wreck teams. Chris is still so good at just manipulating defenses, and Brook's really good at punishing them based off of what you do. Like, they have all these different variations. I think they can get them through the regular season. I'm with Haize though. Playoffs is where that's the water's edge for me. And it's honestly not the playoff stuff. I'm just like, I go back to last year. You don't have the leadership. Like, you do not have the leadership. When the going gets tough, Kawhi Leonard actually vanishes. He's not going to step up and dig you out of a series. So they do not have the guys to get you out of a 3-2 hole, a 3-1 hole, a 2-0 hole. You don't have it. So they can't win a championship, but I think the Clippers are going to have a really good regular season before the NBA drops the hammer next summer.
Are you saying that he has a no-show in the playoff deal with the Clippers? Is that what you're saying?
Haize, I think he's planting the seeds of doubt for the Clippers to be a real contender at this point.
We got jokes this morning.
What's the ceiling for this Clippers team then being that old? Because I keep looking at some of these teams and I'm like, man, the Rockets, they add Kevin Durant. Am I expecting Kevin Durant to get through 4 rounds of the playoffs at his age? And now you're asking this about a Clippers team where it feels like they have 3 or 4 of those guys at this point. Where would you be surprised if the Clippers finish this season? Like, Clippers get to a Western Conference Finals, Haize, are you shocked?
Yes. Considering the teams the young teams that are good, they're going to be able to keep up the pace and the depth that some of the other teams in the Western Conference have. If they make it to the Western Conference Finals, I'd be shocked.
Let's say that Haize is right and the Rockets are as good as folks expect them to be. I'm skeptical. I'm getting more skeptical by the day about Houston. But let's say that happens and they steal the 1 seed. OKC has injuries, whatever, and they slide to 2 and Denver's in the 3 spot. If the Clippers are in 4, there's absolutely a path for them to make the conference finals, I think. Like, there's absolutely, like, to me, it's all about seeding. And the Clippers, there are enough matchups the Clippers can walk out of and win for them to be able to make a conference finals. That, to me, is like, that's it. It's like they're not getting whoever makes it out of an OKC Denver series, even if it goes 7, the Clippers are not going to be able to beat that team. Like, the Nuggets beat them last year with a pretty pitiful squad. And they're way better this season. So the conference finals, but hey, you make a conference finals and that's really great. That's going to, that's a real accomplishment before, again, Kawhi Leonard's deal gets voided and you lose every draft pick from now until the end of time.
At least there are more trees in the world, Matt.
That's a good way to look at it.
Did we confirm that there are more trees, or is
it's like I just got this image of like Kawhi Leonard and the Lorax, like walking hand in hand.
Do you think they're apple trees? Kawhi reportedly a big apple guy. Back to Matt's talk about the identity of the team. One of the big questions that Wes and I put together for the Clippers is which duo is more important for the Clippers? Is it Kris Paul and Bradley Beal, the new guys, or is it Kris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr.? I'm curious what Darian had to say about that.
By the end of the season, I definitely believe that the duo of Derrick Jones Jr. and Kris Dunn is going to be more important than Kris Paul and Bradley Beal. And the reason why I say that, and it doesn't even have to be by the end of the season, I think right now, speaking on media day, the duo of Derrick Jones Jr. and Kris Dunn are definitely more important. Why? Because point of attack defense and defense in general help you win games at high levels, or should I say at every level. Derrick Jones Jr. and Kris Dunn were the keys to the LA Clippers having the 3rd best defensive rating in basketball last year. And even though Kris Paul is a James Harden insurance policy and Bradley Beal is a Norman Powell replacement, there is nothing more important for the Clippers this season with the offensive additions that they have than to maintain, even though Bradley Beal is going to start, the defensive resilience that they had last season. So for me, Kris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. are still very important, more important than Beal and Kris Paul for what the team needs.
Matt, do you agree that those two are more important as a duo?
This is a very typical, in theory, like this is how fans look at it. It's like, oh no, but like they're more important because like defense is what matters. That's cool. This is the NBA and politics matter. And Bradley Beal and Kris Paul are going to get the nod because they're veterans. And James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are going to have their back. And that's all that matters. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter. Like Kris Dunn was phenomenal last season, but they didn't trust him enough to get him enough minutes for him to qualify for all defensive team, which by the way was garbage. That made me so frustrated that Ty Lue did not do what he needed to make sure that kid got all defense. I say that, and he's actually been in the league for 9 years. But anyway, like
the sciatica thing is coming back again with the kid.
I think these guys will always get the preferential treatment because they're veterans. You're not going to see some of the more talented guys on this team. I actually really love their 2-way player, Jordan Miller. Like, this is the thing with the Clippers is like their margin moves, I think, have been tremendous, but they never get a chance to matter because I think that they're too tied to the wrong people at the top.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from, Matt, but I do think, especially if you get into gear where you're trying to grind out wins, that there may be some situations where Kris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. are out there above Bradley Beal and other players, because you do need that defense and you do need to be able to shut down players. And I'm sorry, Bradley Beal's a cone. He's been a cone for a while. Chris Paul tries on defense, but he's old as well. And I do think, especially if this team gets into the playoffs and they're in a tough playoff series, you're going to see, like, Derrick Jones Jr. is already proven. He's been on Nick's Mavs team and has helped the team make a finals run. Derrick Jones Jr. is really, really good. And I would hope at least that if you're in a situation where you need some point of attack defense, you're not looking at it and say, well, we got to play Bradley Beal because of politics. Does Kawhi want to win? Does whoever wants to win, whoever's backing the veterans is cool, but like, do you want to win this basketball game? Because that may come down to making a tough decision in the rotation at that point.
I just want to mention that Bradley Beal said he was going to, quote, get back to being an elite defender, and we were all like, did you come from another dimension where you were a good defender at one point?
Back.
You know what it is? If you watch Peacemaker, he has that door. He probably went to the other dimension where he's a really good defender at. That's what it is.
The one scenario out of the thousands of different scenarios is when he became an elite defender.
Oh, by the way, I added up the collective seasons for Chris Paul, Nicholas Batum, Brook Lopez, James Harden, Bradley Beal, and Kawhi Leonard.
Did you get
96 years?
Why did I think he was going to say like 900?
96 years of NBA experience
96
between
years.
those 6 players.
We got to come. There's got to be some kind of name like the Supreme Court for them in some way. Like there's got to be something where just like all the old guys hanging out. Coming up, the Raptors. What are they? I don't even know if Sean Woodley knows, but we're going to hear from him. Will Brandon Ingram be a hero or a villain? I think I know. We'll talk about that and more. Locked On NBA Daily continues coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odd things that you can use to get in on the action. NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure that you're ready for every kickoff with these can't-miss offers. If you're a new customer, you put down $5, you can get $300 in bonus bets right now to use across the app. Sometimes they only do like 150. So this is one, if you've been waiting around, this is the time. Haize's Bears are plus 4.5 against the Washington Commanders on Monday, and so they are not favored in that game. But 4.5, it's not crazy. That's an interesting one if you want to go check that out. And my Cincinnati Bengals are 14.5 point underdog against the Packers. So that one is it's just sad all around because Joe Flacco's going to start that game. And the question of is he elite anymore is not one we can bring up anymore. And it's just making me sad looking at this. But if you're not sad looking at your team and you feel very confident in something on FanDuel, go check it out. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Today's episode is also brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard us talk about before, but just a new name because the status quo is no longer being held. Because if you have a small business, you know that you have to get every single call. You have to talk to every single customer. If somebody reaches out to you, you cannot miss that opportunity. Quo helps you. It's the number one business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app or your phone or computer. So no more carrying 2 phones, no more Joe Dumarsing it across the world. You can do whatever you want with Quo because they have a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. You also have AI agents if you want. It's a game changer that can answer after hours calls, capture leads, and lead businesses and leave you with more customers all throughout so you don't miss every single person that comes through. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. You've got existing numbers with another service. Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thanks for hanging out with Locked On NBA Daily. Go check out the links in the description for different ways to follow the show. Follow Matt Moore, follow Haize. Great stuff all the time on their individual shows. And we've also got Locked On Raptors with Sean Woodley. And we asked him what's the biggest question for the Raptors. And I don't know that he answered the question, Matt. I don't know that he actually answered the question for us. I think he just decided to go with the direction he wanted to go in here.
The biggest question facing the Toronto Raptors this season is kind of everything. We haven't seen this basketball team play together at all since the trade for Brandon Ingram last year. Not to mention last season was a tank year. where guys were hurt. Emmanuel Quickley played just 33 games. Scottie Barnes missed some time early on. And by the end of the year, the team was not trying. We just don't know what this team is going to look like. There's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of good basketball players, which in theory should lend itself to a pretty successful season in a pretty wide open Eastern Conference. But we don't yet know what RJ Barrett's going to look like as the starting two guard playing next to Brandon Ingram and Scottie Barnes, with Jakob, Poeltl, and Emmanuel Quickley as the bookends for that starting group. We've never seen that starting group play a single minute of basketball together. And so simply just getting to see this team play for 10, 20 games is going to help answer what is the single biggest question for this team, which is, what are they even all about?
Matt, what are they all about? First of all, I want to acknowledge before we do anything else. This is the first time I've heard Sean Woodley publicly, openly admit that the Raptors were not trying last year, because we tried really hard to get him to admit that last year.
Stop. Let me take this one. I did a show, an Eastern Conference preview with Sean, and it was the bottom feeders of the East. And I will never forget, he said, I don't know what I'm doing here amongst all these other teams. They had the worst record of all the teams that were there last year. It's about time. I love Sean. Amazing host. But it's about time that he finally comes to the reality of where his team is. Yes, everything is a question on that team. Everything is a question in your franchise. Every single thing. Thank you for finally realizing. I'm here to say this right now. The Bulls may not be very good this year, but they're going to be better than the Raptors. Sean, deal with it. Thank you.
I've been skeptical of this squad, and so Sean actually had me on Locked On Raptors to kind of like debate this, right? And the problem is, like, Sean, I think, like, actually turned me around on like a lot of this. The problem I have with the Raptors is there's the idea of them and then there's a reality of them. And Sean's defense is, well, they were hurt, so you don't really know the reality. And my problem is whenever we got moments together of what that team was, it wasn't very good. And I look at coaching. That is where I go with this, which is like, I like Scottie Barnes and I love RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley's fine. And Brandon Ingram's also on that team. But like, I like Grady Dick, and I think that Colin Murray-Boyles is going to be the exact type of defender that I love in this league. And Jakob Poeltl is extremely solid. They're like top 7 guys are very solid. I just don't know if they're good together. I don't know. And he's right that like, we don't know. And that's like Sean's defense is like, we don't know. I just, if you could tell me that Brandon Ingram is coming into the season and he doesn't care about scoring and he just wants to win, that he really has like hit that point in his career, I can buy in. But Brandon Ingram has always been about getting buckets and is a true hooper that thinks that there's only one way to play, and that's however he feels. And that is okay, because that man makes a lot of money playing basketball. So who am I to tell him otherwise? But for making your team better, it's really tough. And taking touches away from Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett is not the way. I don't know. They were number 2 in defense after the All-Star break. That's the time in the NBA season that I am typically like, none of this matters. It's all fake. But that's a long period of time to be number 2 on defense. I don't know if Darko got through to him. I am very much lost on the Raptors. I don't know where I am, because I can sense the optimism from a lot of smart people. But I am stuck on the coaching and the fit. So I'm just not sure.
You mentioned Brandon Ingram. The question that Wes and I came up with for them is, will Brandon Ingram be a hero or a villain to Raptors fans by the end of the season? This is what Sean Woodley had to say.
Will Brandon Ingram be a hero or a villain to Toronto Raptors fans at season's end? I, of course, being the host of Locked On Raptors, Sean Woodley, the toxic positivity czar, I am going with a hero, of course. The Toronto Raptors have desperately needed anybody with the skill set of Brandon Ingram on this team for years to help their half-court offense function properly. Last year, you saw Scottie Barnes way overextended in a league creation role. Emmanuel Quickley, not playing a lot of games, certainly didn't help matters, but even he is going to benefit from not having to be on the ball all the time, as he's not the most classic natural point guard in the world. He'll get to be a little bit on ball, a little bit off, with Brandon Ingram there, taking a lot of the creation burden. And RJ Barrett, even someone who's best with a streamlined, trim the fat, roll on offense is going to get to occupy exactly that with Ingram running the show. Yes, he of course could get hurt. He could play less than 50 games and things could look like a disaster, but if he's on the floor, he is going to make the Toronto Raptors a good basketball team and a functional offense in the half court for the first time in many, many years.
Haize, Matt seems conflicted about Brandon Ingram, about all of this. Are you conflicted? Will Brandon Ingram be a hero or a villain to Raptors fans by the end of the season?
No, I think even if it ends up like that, he doesn't have necessarily the best season. I think he'll still be a hero. I think Brandon Ingram is gonna play hard. If he's healthy, he's gonna play hard. You may get frustrated with his decision making sometimes, but he's gonna play hard. And he's not a player that like takes plays off or things like that. He's gonna go out there and do, to Matt's point, what he thinks is the best way to play basketball, and there's something that's admirable about that. I think you have to put that structure in there if you want to avoid that. So I think Raptors fans are going to like Brandon Ingram. I think there's going to be some questions about the team overall, but I think he'll be a hero for Raptors fans.
I'm kind of the opposite kind of view of Sean, where I don't want him running the show. Like, I want Scottie Barnes running the show, and then I want Ingram as like the secondary initiator, the second weapon. Like, I want him to be the Chris Middleton to Scottie Barnes as Giannis Antetokounmpo. And like, Barnes' numbers are not Giannis, but they are awesome. Like, they are, when he's healthy, like that guy does a lot of things across the board. What I don't want to see is, I just don't want to see Ingram dominating the ball. If they're running a motion offense, which is what I think they kind of want to do here, there's a lot of opportunity for them to be able to run smart stuff and really create a lot of good offense. They can be very balanced. I have this kind of hesitation on Ingram because his instinct is always to shoot. He's gotten way better as a passer. He like specifically got really good with Zion last year and the year before. Like his growth over the last 2 seasons as a passer is incredible. This is honestly a little bit like DeRozan. Like there's a little bit of like DeRozan came up and then left Toronto, and now Brandon Ingram like came up and became DeRozan and is now shifting backwards and becoming a Toronto Raptor. I need to see what it looks like. I'm not willing to sit here and say, I don't think it can happen. It's not going to work. Especially don't think they're going to be better. They're going to be worse than the Bulls. But I'm not like ready to get in on this team. I just can't get there.
Well, DeMar DeRozan at one point was one of the best Raptors of all time. So is that going to be good enough for the Raptors? Maybe. I mean, it's probably good enough for them to make the playoffs in this Eastern Conference with so many teams. Like if Boston absolutely just like unwinds and spirals, and then the Pacers can't get it together, if it turns out Tyrese Haliburton is that important, and you open up 2 spots in the Eastern Conference, the Raptors can absolutely make the play. They can make the playoffs as like a 4 seed, a 5 seed. And that's a really good year for them, given where they're at in their learning curve. I still cannot get
crazy.
Yeah,
hey, I saw that look
crazy. There's no the Raptors as a 4th seed or 5.
What are they bad at?
4.
What are they bad at?
What are they good at? Well, see, that's the thing. Like,
good question.
They're not great. They're not great at anything other than having a lot of redundant forwards that they try to get away from. And then they're right back with all these interchange, which could work. They're not getting paid as much. But Scottie Barnes would have to take that leap where he is actually starting. There's been some good signs of that, and I understand that. And if he does, maybe. But I still have my questions about that. And then you have Brandon Ingram, who does need the ball. I understand everything you're saying as far as you want to see Scottie Barnes have those opportunities, but you didn't pay Brandon Ingram to have him sit in the corner, and he's not going to do that either. So I have some questions about the natural fit there, and I just think they're a year or 2 away from us talking about them being the 4th or the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference.
I still can't get over that they are one of the teams with 5 players in the Locked On Top 100. Like that just floored me when I started to go through it. And it was like, there was only like 5 or 6 teams, and the Toronto Raptors were one of the teams. Absolutely wild. Nobody knows what to make of them. Go listen to Sean William Locked On Raptors to find out what they're going to be, and to find out if they answer the question of everything. That is the question that Sean William is asking. And if Haize will be right, if they're going to be better or worse than the Bulls. So go check out that show. Go check out all. Why does this have music on it? Go check out all the great shows on Locked On. Great stuff happening all the time over here on Locked On NBA Daily. Boom.